The PlayStation Store's totally digital sale is running right now, and we haven't covered it all that much really. Recently, we've been looking more at physical deals. However, the totally digital sale is actually really good. It's just that for a lot of people, these games might not be directly up your alley because there are a lot of indies, there are a lot of lower key titles. However, that doesn't mean that these games are bad. Actually, these games are very good, and best of all, a lot of them are really cheap. We're gonna go over 10 awesome deals as a part of the PlayStation Store's totally digital sale, so let's get right into it, and let's kick it off with a fantastic game from 2018, and that is Dead Cells. It is 30% off, so not a sizable discount on it, but it is $17.49. This is an awesome Metroidvania adventure that I can go on and on about. When I initially played this game, after playing it for a half an hour to 45 minutes, I didn't really get what all the hype was about, but then I played it more and more, and wow, I got incredibly invested into the experience. Now, already I was captivated by Dead Cells based on the visual style, but a lot of games are employing these artistic visual styles, and that's not enough to win me over. However, Dead Cells really gets it right with the gameplay. It's ever evolving, ever changing, and it feels like every time you play it, it is a different experience, while still retaining the excellent fundamentals the game has in place. The studio and Motion Twin have also kept this game updated. They actually just released a sizable free update, so kudos to them for doing this game a great service. And yes, they are making the game retain its price, but still at $17.49, it's absolutely worth it. And I know people that have sunk well over 40, 50, even 100 hours into this game, so you're definitely gonna get your money's worth. And play this, and you're probably gonna get excited for whatever Motion Twin's gonna put out in the future, because you can tell that this is an incredibly talented studio, and a studio that I hope is a mainstay in gaming for the years and even decades to come. Next up, I do want to give a mention to both Outlast the Bundle of Terror as well as Outlast 2. Outlast the Bundle of Terror is 80% off, down to $5.79. That includes Outlast as well as Outlast Whistleblower, and then Outlast 2 is 75% off for $7.49. So if you're getting into Outlast, if you've never played the game, definitely start off with the Bundle of Terror as you get Outlast and Whistleblower, and that's pretty good. And just be mindful of the fact that these are survival horror games at their core. They really invoke that atmosphere and element of horror that a lot of other survival horror games have been missing, and that's why Outlast resonated so much with gamers. Specifically with Outlast, it's set in the remote mountains of Colorado. Horrors wait inside Mount Massive Asylum, a long-abandoned home for the mentally ill, recently reopened by the research and charity branch of the transnational Murkoff Corporation. The asylum has been operating in strict secrecy until now. You can already tell by description that this game isn't for the faint of heart, and Whistleblower is the same thing. I don't know if I liked Outlast 2 as much as Outlast, probably not, but Outlast 2 was quite a compelling game as well. And if you want your horror experiences, it doesn't get much better than Outlast and Outlast 2, so definitely give those a look. Again, Outlast Bundle of Terror for $5.79, Outlast 2 for $7.49. Alright, next up is a game that I often talk about when it goes on sale because I'm such a big fan of it, and that is Oxenfree. Oxenfree was the debut title from Night School Studio, a studio that's actually composed of people that worked on Telltale games, and that really shines through in Oxenfree given that it is a story-driven adventure. Specifically, it's a supernatural thriller about a group of friends who unwittingly open a ghostly rift. Play as Alex, a bright, rebellious teenager who brings her new stepbrother Jonas to an overnight party on an old military island. While there are these supernatural beings introduced, and whatever the case may be, the game also offers a very relatable tale about a group of people that are coming of age, and I found it very relatable to when I grew up, and that's what I think the essence of Oxenfree is and where the game really shines. Yeah, the supernatural stuff is cool, but I really think the character development, character interaction, that's where this game really shines, and for that, I would highly recommend the game at $4.99. That's a great price. And it is a shorter experience, a narrative-driven experience, so just know what you're going into with this one. Next up, we have the lone, really a AAA experience on this list, and that is Just Cause 3 XXL Edition, 75% off for $7.49. Now, unfortunately, Just Cause 3 was an absolute train wreck at launch, so it really didn't get a lot of recognition. It only got recognition for being an absolute technical train wreck. However, the game has gotten better. And even though it's not perfect, now you're not spending an entire $59.99, you're spending $7.49 for the XXL edition, and you get a bunch of other content. Not only do you get the base game, you get the Air, Land, and Sea Expansion Pass, Weaponized Vehicle Pack, Explosive Weapon Pack, Reaper Missile Mech, and a Rifle. Nothing that's going to be all too game-changing outside of the Air, Land, and Sea Expansion Pass, but nonetheless, you get some cool stuff in there. And for $7.49, if you want an open-world game to not take all too seriously, this is the one to go with. The story isn't anything to write home about. If you want to just go in, create some massive explosions, and have a pretty good time in a sandbox open world, Just Cause 3 is definitely going to offer that. Of course, at this point, Just Cause 4 has been released. That game is is not very good, and if you do want to pick it up, wait until it's south of $19.99. If you're new to Just Cause, stick with Just Cause 3 for now, and you'll have a pretty fun time in its open world. Next up, here's a game from Bandai Namco that's been forgotten about a little bit, and that is Little Nightmares. It's 70% off for $5.99, and this is a really cool horror platformer. Kind of a hard game to describe. I do want to note that there is a free demo available for the game, so if you're not sold on my description or just looking at the game, try out the free demo. Maybe it'll win you over, but Little Nightmares has you immerse yourself in a dark, whimsical tale that will confront you with your childhood fears. You have to help the main character 6 escape the maw, a vast, mysterious vessel inhabited by corrupted souls looking for their next meal. As you progress on your journey, explore the most disturbing dollhouse, offering a prison to escape from and a playground full of secrets to discover. This is a pretty dark game, and while it does have some charming elements, at the same time that kind of invokes more of a horror atmosphere as well, if you guys get what I'm saying. At $6, it's a pretty compelling horror title, and I would give it a recommendation. Again, try out the free demo if I can't sell you on the game, but $6 for it I think is quite good. Next up, we have a title from Supergiant Games, their most recent title outside of Hades, which is an early access and exclusive to the Epic Store. Not a lot of people even know about that game, but Pyre was released back in 2017. It's 65% off for $6.99, and this is an awesome game. I mean, it's a Supergiant Games title. I don't really need to sell you on these games. They already did Bastion and Transistor, so you know how good their game's on, and Pyre is an awesome game as well. And it's a party-based RPG. You experience the biggest and most imaginative world yet from the creators of Bastion and Transistor. In the game, you lead a band of exiles to freedom through ancient competition spread across a vast mystical purgatory. The game's visual style is awesome, and I feel like Supergiant Games has done an incredible job with reinventing themselves with each game. Each game is so different from the last, and they all have their own unique presentation, gameplay, story, and I can go on and on. The game looks great, plays great, and if you enjoyed Bastion and Transistor, again, Pyre is another great title. I personally think this is Supergiant Games' second best title. I rank Bastion number 1, Pyre number 2, and then Transistor is number 3, but man, you can mix and match those any which way you want. They're all great games, and if you're a fan of RPGs, Pyre is definitely worth a look at $6.99. Next up, we have another game that I often go to bat for, and that is Child of Light from Ubisoft. It's 70% off for $4.49. Now, going into this generation, I feel like Ubisoft got a lot of flack for always relying on the same IPs, churning out Assassin's Creed game after Assassin's Creed, and then they put out a unique new game like Child of Light, and I feel like it didn't get the attention that it deserved. It was received well when it released back in April of 2014, but it's not remembered for the great game that it is, and the presentation style in this game is awesome. The story is incredibly charming, and that's the word that I would use to describe Child of Light. It is a very charming game, but at the same time, it has an emotional story, and it just offers something very, very engaging. Again, so unique, and coming from Ubisoft, it just goes to show the type of games that they can publish. I point to games like Child of Light, and I point to games like Valiant Hearts from Ubisoft, and I wish we could get more games like that. I get they're probably not as big of commercial successes as, say, a Far Cry 5, but nonetheless, they are great games in their own right, and Child of Light for $4.49 definitely worth a buy. Also, this is one with a free demo, so you can check that out if you do want to. Next up, we have Furi Definitive Edition. That is 60% off for $8.79. This is a game that is a little bit of a mixed bag. You should know that Furi is awesome in terms of presentation, and its gameplay is incredibly compelling. The difficulty spikes and the general difficulty of the game does leave a lot to be desired. There are some times in the game where you're definitely going to want to quit the game. However, it is such a chaotic experience, it is such a diverse experience, that I found it rather easy to go through the game the whole way through, even though you will be frustrated from time to time, and it's got a lot of different gameplay mechanics, fast-paced sword fighting, and dual-stick shoot-'em-up gameplay. Again, the visuals are awesome. It's just those difficulty spikes really left a lot to be desired from me. With the Definitive Edition, you do get the base game, you get the dynamic theme, and you get the One More Fight DLC. It's $8.79, and by the way, the base game is $9.99, so just get the Definitive Edition. I don't know what's up with that. But yeah, it's an interesting enough game with its issues, but I think overall it is a very, very enjoyable game. Next up, we have a game that made a big impact on PC back in the day, and I did want to give it a mention, and that is Dear Esther Landmark Edition. $2.99 for this one, it's 70% off. Bear in mind, this is absolutely a walking simulator. When you see people meme on games about them being a walking simulator, I feel like Dear Esther is the game that really symbolizes a walking simulator, but it's a very unique game in its own right. It immerses you in a stunningly realistic world, a remote and desolate island somewhere in the Outer Worlds. As you step forward, a voice begins to read fragments of a letter. Dear Esther Esther, and so begins a journey through one of the most original first-person games of recent years. If you actually play through the game, you'll see that it has an incredibly emotional story, and you're not paying, you know, an obscene price for it. It's just $3, and I feel like it's worth a try at that price. But also, if you do buy the game, you do get a free Dear Esther Landmark Edition dynamic theme, so that's something to note as well. All that for $3 I think is a good buy. And lastly, I do want to give a mention to Thunder Lotus Games' Sundered Eldritch Edition. These are the guys that also put out Jotun, and this is without a doubt a better game. Again, another game with incredible visuals. Just like Jotun, that game had incredible visuals, and Sundered is a chaotic, hand-drawn Metroidvania where you resist or embrace ancient eldritch power, confront hordes of terrifying enemies in an ever-changing world inspired by the works of H.P. Lovecraft, which seems to be something we see more and more in gaming these days. It's a challenging and unique take on classic genre from the creators of Jotun. As much as Metroidvania titles have been gaining in popularity with titles like Dead Cells, I feel like Sundered never got the attention that it deserved. The studio in Thunder Lotus Games is very talented, and now that you can get this title for $6, give it a look. I feel like just by looking at the game, seeing its awesome visuals, it's a game that's easy to captivate people, but for some reason it didn't hit the mainstream gaming audience. Now that it's down to a fragment of its original price, definitely give it a look if you're into Metroidvanias. And by the way, this version does add local co-op multiplayer support for up to 4 players, so if you do want a quality local co-op game, something that some would consider to be a dying breed, this is another good one to check out. And that's gonna conclude this video. Again, this totally digital sale isn't gonna be for everyone, given that a lot of these games are lower key. You do have a lot of indie titles. However, I implore you guys to try out games like Dead Cells, Outlast, Oxenfree even, Little Nightmares, Pyre is awesome, Child of Light is great. These games are really, really good, and even if they don't hit the visual caliber of a Horizon Zero Dawn, a God of War, or Red Dead Redemption 2, that doesn't mean they're bad games. They're quite good, actually, and they offer you quite compelling experience as well. So that's gonna conclude this video. Sound off with all of your thoughts in the comment section down below. Thank you for watching, and goodbye. Hey guys, we hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, make sure to hit the subscribe button, and if you're already subscribed, do us a favor and hit the bell icon. This way you'll be notified whenever we post a new video. That's the best way to keep up with all of our uploads, and we usually try to upload 2 videos a day. And with the bell icon hit, you'll be notified whenever we do upload a video. As always, thanks for watching.